Andrea Rains Wagoner here. Can novel writing be easy? Absolutely. Learning how to write a novel doesn't have to be complicated. When you follow a step-by-step process, you can take the complexity of how to write a novel and dumb it down to such a simple system that it becomes almost like paint by numbers. Easy novel writing is a series of connections, kind of like the foot bone's connected to the ankle bone. In the case of novel writing, your connections look like this. You start with idea. Your novel idea is the basic concept. For example, the idea for my novel, Alternate Beauty, was that an obese woman finds herself in an alternate universe where fat's beautiful. Now this is kind of intriguing, but it's certainly not enough for a whole novel. So you have to start asking questions. To flesh out an idea, you start questions like, what if? For example, what if the woman who was in the alternate universe began losing weight? You throw out a bunch of answers to the what if question, and then you pick one that tickles your fancy and you ask another what if question. So it's kind of like this. Once the woman begins losing weight, she ends up as unhappy in the new universe as she was in the old. So what if she got fed up with being unhappy? You see? As you work through what if questions, you throw in why questions. Why does the woman lose weight? Why is she unhappy? You keep stringing these questions together and you'll begin to find your conflict. Conflict comes from a character wanting to get something and being blocked in some way from getting what he or she wants. A good novel makes characters' lives miserable before everything turns out in the end, either good or bad. You weave your questions together in a way that reveals your character's desires and the obstacles preventing him or her from achieving those desires. It's the conflict that keeps your reader guessing when you keep creating story questions. Story questions are the secrets you keep from the reader so the reader has questions in his or her mind. You layer the conflict, one upon the other, so the reader has to keep reading to satisfy his or her curiosity. All the story questions, when answered at the end of the novel, reflect the theme. The theme is the central message of the novel, the statement you want to make about the human condition. The theme is the unifying element of everything you put in your plot. Plot is the story, the culmination of conflict and story question. It's not just what happens in the novel, but why what happens is interesting. Plot is interesting when it's driven by lifelike characters. Characters are the people in your story. Think of them as the train that carries your plot along. Characters can only carry along a plot in a compelling way when they have clear motivation. Motivation is the psychological and experiential explanation for why your characters do what they do. Once you have a central motivation for each main character, you can easily create character sketches. Character sketches are your characters' bios. They include everything from physical characteristics to history to personality to favorite color. Great characters are rich with detail and they live in equally rich settings. Settings are the place of your novel. You can create settings that your reader can easily visualize when you create setting sketches. Setting sketches are the who, what, where, why, and how of your settings. They consist of diagrams, pictures, and other specific information to make settings unique and interesting. You get this information and every other fact you need to support the story of your novel from your research. Research will answer all your detail questions, and if you do it right, you'll have a good balance of enough information and not too much to bog down the story. Once you've done your research, you can create your scene cards. Scene cards are index cards that contain outlines of every scene in your novel. Scene is a specific chunk of the story, one that is its own closed loop. Every good scene has a purpose and it leads to the next good scene. This is how you create a scene card file. A scene card file is where you put all your scene cards. Since each scene has its own card, you can easily rearrange scenes as needed to create perfect pacing. Pacing is the rhythm of the novel. You take the reader for a thrill ride, and then you slow things down. Speed up, slow down. The story questions you created when you plotted is what helps you create this speed flow. When you have your novel paced well in the scene cards, you're ready to write a query. The query is the 1 to 2 page letter needed to submit to an agent or editor. When you write it before you draft your book, it embeds your theme and central plot in your mind. It also helps you write the synopsis. A synopsis is the narrative outline of your novel, told in a compelling way, but placing all essential information in a concise package of only 10 to 30 pages or so. If you can put your story in this space, you'll find it incredibly easy to then take the skeleton of the story, fill it in with the meat of your scene cards and your character sketches and your setting sketches, and write a magnificent first draft. The draft of your story is the natural result of all the connections that have come before. It's simply sitting at the computer and using all the elements you've created to spill the story onto the page. Once it's there, you can rewrite to polish your words to pristine perfection. Then you're ready for submission. Submission is easy when you've done all the other work. You already have your query, synopsis, and polished manuscript. So you just need to hit Novel and Short Story Writers Market, which is a book you can get in almost any bookstore, and find a list of agents or editors to whom to send your query. When the agent or editor asks for more, you'll simply send the synopsis and eventually the manuscript, and one day you'll get the call telling that you've made a sale. This is when you scream and jump around and go out and buy your favorite meal and then be annoyingly perky for weeks on end. And just like that, you've created a novel readers will love, all because you followed a paint-by-numbers system for novel writing made easy. That's it for now. If you're serious about being a great writer, be sure you get the free reports and the writing tips that I have at www.writinghelppartnership.com. These reports will help you avoid common writing mistakes and prevent the dreaded writer's block. Thanks for listening. Happy writing.